everybody, and welcome to Flavor Town. My name is Alan. I'm very happy you could join me here today. I want to start today off just by explaining myself, explaining my background, and why I'm starting this channel. My background is I've been in the industry as a chef for 11 years. Started off in a butcher shop actually up in Michigan, where I'm from. I then moved after high school to North Carolina for my undergraduate degree from Johnson & Wales University. My associate's is in culinary arts, and my bachelor's degree is in food and beverage management. What I want to do is show some of the tricks and techniques, some of the different things that I've picked up for eating healthier, for making better foods for me. Look at some of the ways you can cut down on fats, which are extremely calorie dense. I'll kind of talk on some of my videos about where calories come from, what is a calorie to your body. I'm going to talk about how you break down foods. Everything basically breaks down calories. We'll talk about a BMI, which is your body mass index, and what that means to you and how that can help you lose weight. We'll talk about a whole bunch of different topics, and I want for you to please comment down below if you have topics that you're not sure about or you think you want to know more about. Here's your chance. You can ask a chef. So, like I said, today I'm preparing one of my favorite soups, something that typically is awful for you, quite frankly, and I've changed it around. I've made a way to, or I've figured out a way to make it healthier and better for you. Bisques, really classically Bisques, French soups, lots of fats, lots of creams, very heavy, very dense, incredibly delicious and luscious, and big flavors. Well, they've almost always got starch of some sort in them, flour usually as a thickener. Sometimes the French will use potato or rice, typically it's flour though, in the form of a roux, which if you don't know is equal parts fat and flour. That is a way of thickening things. And then lots, like I said, fats, big voluptuous flavors, shrimp bisques, different types of bisques. So today I'm changing it up. We're making a butternut bisque, and I figured out a way to make it both vegan and gluten-free. So if you're vegan or if you're gluten-free, you can make it both ways. If you're not vegan and you're not gluten-free, it's still a great soup. So hopefully it lends itself to everybody. Hopefully you guys can try this recipe. If you are interested in the recipe, the link will be down below to my website, and on my website you'll see tabs across the top that say recipes, about us, our story, our I don't even remember what the rest of the tabs say. But yeah, if you want to dart over there, pause me, grab that recipe and come back. Might be beneficial, maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to take a quick break, get stuff set up, and again, it's kind of difficult from a chef's perspective. I don't know just how much to show in these videos. I don't know if you guys really want to sit there and watch somebody break down onions and cut carrots and cut celery. So again, maybe for this first video I'll kind of run through everything, and then for the future videos you'll kind of be able to revert back to this one for, oh yeah, that's how we did the onion, or oh yeah, that's how we did celery. But yeah, I think for this first video I'll kind of show you guys everything that I do. If you guys like my techniques, great, you can use them. If you don't, then you don't have to use them. So, yeah, that's about it. Like I said, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll get everything set up, ready to rock and roll, get my other camera running, and yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks, guys. I got all the cameras running. I think I'm ready to go. Before I do jump into everything though, I want to talk really quickly just one more time about maybe some equipment, some terms that you might hear me use. I throw around the term like mirepoix quite a bit, and what mirepoix is, it's 2 parts onion, 1 part carrot, and 1 part celery. Really classic French. You'll hear me refer to an immersion blender later on. And an immersion blender, if you don't have one, it's fine. Use a regular blender, use a food processor, whatever you have that'll chop stuff up really fine will work fine. I love immersion blenders. You can work right in whatever vessel you've been cooking in, blend it up, good to go. I really like this Cuisinart model because the blades actually detach. You can run this through the dishwasher, stick it back together whenever you need it again. So an induction cooker is just like a stovetop. How it works is instead of producing heat from below, like a stove, gas stove, electric stove, whatever kind of stove you might use, What an induction cooker does, it kind of works like a microwave. If you know how a microwave works, is it bombards the food in the microwave with radio waves, which agitate the water molecules in the food, causes them to rub back and forth really, really fast against each other, which creates friction. That heat created by the friction, in turn, is what cooks the food. An induction cooktop, if you guys maybe have one in your house and you don't quite know how it works, or maybe you've never heard of it before, how it works is very, very similar, except it uses an electromagnet and it uses magnet waves, which agitate the particles in a pan. Those particles rub together, create friction, that friction creates heat, and that's what heats your food in the pan. Very, very energy efficient, which is referring to any of those terms. And again, if I say something else in the video that you don't know, shoot me a question down below and I'll try to get to it and answer it for you. So yeah, kind of just to get stuff started, in the recipe, if you're looking, I have half of a cup of rough cut celery and carrots, as well as 1 cup of onion. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to be doing for you guys is kind of ideas or base marks. I've tried this recipe out, I love this recipe, so I have a pretty good idea of how much it takes to make it. But you won't be seeing me measuring stuff. I don't like to take that much time. I'm pretty good at guesstimating about what I'm looking for. Roughly, again guys, that's roughly half a cup. Celery, I'll trim off the tops, trim the bottoms up a little bit. I already did wash these, very important guys, wash your vegetables. Come straight from the farmer's fields, and usually they're pretty dirty, especially with celery. So yeah, make sure that you guys are washing your vegetables. But just run my knife real quick through this stuff. Cuts are not going to matter with this particular recipe. Everything's going to be blended up in the end. So there we go. Got a half cup of both of those. We'll take our onion. I'm particular about how I cut onions. I think that makes a difference. So whenever I cut an onion, obviously there's 2 ends. The stem end, which is the part that grows out of the ground with the leaves on it, producing photosynthesis, allows the plant to grow. And then the root end, obviously that's the part that grows into the ground, sucks nutrients out of the ground, water, etc. for the plant to live. Always trim off that little top, get rid of that. If the root end has a whole bunch of hair and the root's still attached to it and dirt, it looks disgusting, then you can trim it off very, very carefully and just taking a little bit off. You want to leave most of that root intact if you can. And I'll probably go to that other camera. I have a camera. So, to get back to my onion, I just cut it in half, going from the root end down. Doesn't have to be perfectly in half. And then I'll take out that outer layer of onion, get rid of that. For about a cup of onion, usually 1 large onion will give you pretty darn close to a cup, maybe just under. But I'm okay with that for this recipe. Onion's got great health benefits to it, guys. So if you don't like onions or think you don't like onions, give them a shot. I really, really do like them. And they're really, you can't taste them in this recipe. It breaks down quite a lot. So what I'm doing, looking at the stem end again, which is that flat end that we cut first, I'm going to use the point of my knife, go in towards the root, but not all the way through. And I'm going to follow the contour of the onion and go around. And again, claw, I'm guiding that blade. When it comes to over to this side, it's going to get trickier. Very, very carefully, we'll hold the onion and kind of go through it like so, and then just run my knife through it. Rough chop, large dice, whatever you want to call this. Garlic. I watch people struggle all the time when it comes to cutting down garlic and breaking it down. The easiest way to me is put your blade flat on the garlic very, very carefully, using the palm of your hand. Give it a little pop. And then the skin should just kind of pop right off of it. Really, really simple. Get rid of that. Same thing here. Get rid of that. Once you get it to that point, I'll, for this recipe, flatten it out a little bit more. And then just run my knife through it. Again, this recipe is getting pureed, so your cuts don't have to be super fancy with this. But I do like to break garlic down. Nothing's worse than when you're eating a recipe to get, in my opinion, a huge chunk of garlic that just overpowers everything, and then your palate's shot. So yeah, we'll break that down. If you do want to learn how to fully mince garlic, I'll show you that real quick. Once you get it to this point, I'll take a little bit of kosher salt, put a little bit of salt on my board with that garlic. Keep running my knife through it. The salt will help keep the garlic from sticking to your blade so much, and it also gives it a little bit of, we're kind of like a sandpaper. Helps that little bit of grit to chop the garlic and break the garlic up. So I got it pretty broken up right now. I'm just going to take and rock my knife through it like this and help to grind it up a little bit finer still. Okay. One last time through it like so, and I'm going to say that's good to go. So again, I'm going to come in with the heel of my knife, not the blade, otherwise you'll end up dulling out your knife prematurely. It's also a lot more dangerous to do. Scrape all that goodness up, get it into our cup, like so. I'm going to rinse my blade real quick. Okay. And I'll give my board a quick wipe. Big proponent of working clean. Clean as you go, work clean. Makes it a lot easier in the end. So butternut squash. Look for firm texture, firm flesh when you're buying them. The root end or the stem end should be fairly clean. They're pretty straightforward, especially winter time. You'll see them all over the place. For breaking them down, I'll go for the top. Gonna trim that off. Bottom end, trim it off. I've seen people that try to go to town with a peeler and use a vegetable peeler to peel everything off of these. I don't think it works real well. They're too damn dense, quite frankly. So what I'll do is I'll go in, and this part will take some time for you to really get good at doing. But with my knife, I'm going to follow the contour of the squash and just try to make thin little strips, cutting off that exterior. Hopefully, note to self while I'm editing this later, I'll fast forward so you guys don't have to sit there and watch me peeling this entire squash. So this part of the squash is the real meaty part. There's no seeds, no anything on the inside of this. So I'm just going to break it down, run a knife through it. Again, the cuts don't really matter in this recipe. You're just trying to break the stuff down so it'll fit your pot a little bit easier. Do try to make it hopefully as consistent as you can size-wise. If you run in big pieces, then make everything fairly big pieces. That way it cooks consistently. It'll be bad if you have a whole bunch of really, really small chunks and then a whole bunch of really, really big chunks that then cook at different rates. So yeah, I'm just going to finish running my knife through this, like so. And then I want to show you guys this end too. So if you run your knife straight through this, the bulb end is full of seeds. Seeds is kind of membrane as well. And just like a pumpkin, you can scrape all the seeds out. I know some people roast the seeds off, use it as a nice garnish. I think it's too much work. So I'm going to get rid of those seeds just by scooping them out with a spoon. Okay, about like so. I'll try to show you guys this one. So I'm going to go in with a spoon, follow the edges all the way around it. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to make a dishing shape or dishing motion with the spoon to get everything out from the bottom. We'll get rid of that. And I had left the stem just a little bit long on this, or a little bit short rather. So I'll just cut a little triangle, get rid of that stem piece, you really don't want to eat that. Same thing on this side, get rid of that. And then just the same as we did with the meat, for the upper portion, we're just going to break it down into chunks. Get everything ready to go in the pot, like so. I know in the recipe I had put 2 pounds of squash, 2 pounds more or less, give or take. If you really want to be accurate, then be accurate, it's going to come out fine. I'm not going to pay too much attention to that. I'm looking at roughly a 2 to 3 pound squash when I'm buying it, and then whatever flesh I get from it is what I'm going to end up using. I'm going to rinse my hands real quick. Get this ready to rock and roll. Okay, so if you are vegan, if you are vegetarian, one of the great things about this recipe is it can be made both ways. Like I said before, it is a gluten-free recipe. So like I said earlier, I was talking about that induction cooker. This is what it is. Get my pot set up here. One of the really nice things about these is you can set an exact temperature. If you're so inclined. It also has low, medium, high, high. To start this off, I'm going to probably put it on medium high, which is 375 degrees according to this. Hit the start button. This is now rocking, heating up. I'll give it just a second to get hot. I'm going to go in with a little bit of olive oil or canola oil, whatever you prefer. 2 tablespoons according to my recipe. We'll hit that in there, get our veggies sauteing up. So the reason, or the way that I managed to keep this recipe vegan or vegetarian, depending, is that instead of using heavy cream, which just about every Bisque calls for, I'm using coconut milk. It doesn't have an extremely coconutty flavor in the final result, but it gives you that mouthfeel, that texture that you're really looking for out of a Bisque. You need that creaminess. I'm going to be using butter in my version, just a little bit of it to finish it off. Again, it's about that mouthfeel for me. You definitely don't have to use the butter though, or you can use Earth Balance, which is a great butter substitute. If you guys don't know about it, I highly recommend it. I'll probably try to put the link in my down bar below to go to their website. They make really awesome products. I already feel the heat starting to come off of this, so I'm going to go in with my olive oil, about 2 tablespoons worth. It doesn't take a whole lot. Wait for that just to kind of heat up. You'll smell it when the olive oil gets hot. Actually, I need my knife. Open this up. Childproof packaging. Can't figure it out to save my life. Okay, so we got our veggie stock open. That's ready to rock and roll. This is getting hot, so I'm going to start off going with my onions. Hear that great sizzle right when they go in. It's a beautiful thing. Our celery and our carrots. One of the things I should have mentioned earlier, but I'll mention it now before I do that when we season. Always season as you guys go, so I'll hit it with a little bit of salt. Let that stuff start going. A little bit of black pepper. Always do fresh ground, guys, if you can. Results are so much better. But one of the things that I should have mentioned before that I know I didn't mention is that what I had done, when I had all of the stuff laid out in front of me, ready to go like that, it's called mise en place. Again, it's a French term, big in the kitchen industry and the culinary industry. It means basically having your shit together, everything in its place. Really beneficial when you guys are trying to make food and you don't want to forget stuff, or you realize, oh crap, I forgot to put the eggs in the brownies. If you have everything out, laid out in front of you, it makes it really easy to go back and then, oh yeah, I need that, I need that, I need that, when you're looking at the recipes. So to get back to this, I'm going to give everything a quick little stir. Hopefully you guys can see this on my overhead camera. Probably should have looked to make sure that it's in focus. Let's take a quick gander. Oh guys. So we got this stuff sauteing. I'm going to actually wait, and I want to see a little bit of color start to develop before I take this any further. So I'm going to try to fast forward through this portion
and I'll show you guys after I get a little bit of color going on this. Alright guys, so hopefully you can see in that overhead camera that I'm starting to pick up a little bit of color around the edges of my onions. All that color is caramelization of sugars. Super delicious, big time flavor in that. Highly recommend that if you are making this recipe, wait for that to happen. Don't just go gung-ho and adding everything. But definitely saute this up, get that color started, get that great caramelization going. Huge flavors in that. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add in my garlic. We'll stir that in. Kind of moving quick. You don't want to burn the garlic. It's super bitter if you burn it. So keep that moving for just, oh my god, I wish you could smell it. As soon as that garlic hits it, it's insane. The angels come out from culinary heaven. Keep that moving. Alright, so you kind of smell when you're making this that the garlic, right when you put it in, it's super pungent. It's like BAM! Well, after it has a second or two in the pot, and you kind of introduce it to a little bit of heat, it softens around the edges. It becomes, instead of like super garlic, it becomes like hand garlic. So move that just a little bit more, and again, try to show you guys in this above camera. But I'm starting to develop some of this brown stuff on the bottom of the pot, which is amazing and what I'm totally looking for. The French have a word for that. It's called fond. Basically, it's a little bit of good bits on the bottom of the pot. Going with our squash. Super important, guys. Season as you go. So I'm going to add in a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper. And then I'm going to add just enough veggie stock to cover everything. If, again, you guys are not vegetarian and you're not vegan and you really don't care about that, feel free. You can definitely use chicken stock. I do actually really prefer veggie stock in this recipe. One sec. I really do prefer veggie stock in this recipe for the simple fact that it cuts down on fat. Animal products have a lot of fats in them. We'll go just a little bit more of this. Again, I'm looking for just pretty much enough to cover my vegetables. And what brand of stock you decide to use, if you're going to use homemade stock, highly encourage it. I'll try to get a recipe up on my website before long for a really good veggie stock or chicken stock. I can show you guys how to make those a little bit better for you, a little bit more, not fat-free, but lower fat anyways. Yeah, so we're going to let this cook for a few. I'm also going to add my dried thyme while I'm thinking about it right now. And unfortunately, I forgot to buy the bay leaves for this recipe, but this would be the time to add the bay leaves. So, yeah, I'll check back in just a few minutes. We're going to let this stuff simmer, and I'm going to wait for my veggies to get soft. So, yeah, I'll see you in a few.
Alright guys, so our soup's been simmering for a little while now. You got to see everything that went into it. Basically, the way that you can tell when everything's ready to go, if you find yourself a little bit of a bigger chunk of squash, and again, this is just using a rubber spatula, if you can pretty much cut it in half or break down that squash, cut right through that squash with a rubber spatula. I hope you guys can see that in this overhead cam. But yeah, it's tender as all can be. Then it's good to go. At this point, you'd fish out the bay leaves if I had remembered to buy the damn things. And I'm going to use some of this coconut milk, again, for that texture, that great feel that Bisque has. It's not going to take this whole can. Hopefully you have another use for it, or you can freeze it for the next time you use this. It might go with, what was that, maybe a quarter to half a cup of it? Something like that. Hit it with just a titch bit of salt, give it a quick stir. I'm going to reduce my heat, pretty much just to keep it warm at this point. I'm going to go in with my immersion blender and just blend the dickens out of it. Not seeing any more chunks of anything. I really wish you guys could smell this. It smells so good in here. I'm going to go in with my butter at this point. And again, the butter is completely omittable. If you guys don't eat butter, you don't want the butter, completely omittable. Just as reference point, this is probably 6 to 8 servings. That amount of butter is 200 calories, so I've only added about 200 calories to 6 or 8 servings. You do the math on how that breaks down. Maybe an extra 40 calories a serving. You get one thing from watching my channel, watching my videos, always taste before you serve stuff. Make sure that you got a good flavor. And see if it needs more seasoning. Maybe just a titch bit more salt for me. I did use unsalted butter, by the way. I always cook with unsalted butter. If you cook with salted butter, then you lose control. And I want just a couple more grinds of pepper. I love the fresh cracked black pepper. Oh, it's so good. Stir that up. I'm gonna kill my heat. And again, the great thing about this immersion blender, it's super simple to clean up. I'll give that a rinse and I'll throw it in the dishwasher. Good to go for the next time I want to use it. And I'll show you guys my plate and how I would do this soup up. So whatever style bowl you like, I'm very much a purist when it comes to my plates and my bowls. So what I buy, I love white. It really allows you to showcase the natural colors and natural beauty of the food. So going with the ladle. Get up some of that soup. OMG. Good trick if you guys don't want to make a mess when you're trying to keep your soup bowls clean is do not overfill your ladle. You'll notice that I'm going about 9/10 full with that ladle. Okay. Set that down. I'll move this out of the way so people can see. Be beautiful. If you so desire to do an underliner with yours, you may do so. As I do. Okay. We'll go with a spoon, obviously. And then, like I was saying, is that I took that coconut milk, put a little bit in a squeeze bottle for me. When you go to garnish, I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of the air, and that'll help you to keep control over everything. Then I'm just going to do a couple zigzags going across it, like so. I'm going to grab a toothpick. Really should have had all this sitting out for you guys as opposed to watching me root through my kitchen. But I'm going to grab a toothpick, and I'm just going to very, very carefully drag it through at this point. You guys got to work like a chef. And then if you want, a little sprig of parsley, something to that effect right on top. Otherwise, serve it like that. Really great presentation, really super tasty soup. Hopefully you guys try this recipe, hopefully you like the video. If you do, please do me a great big favor. Click that subscribe button. I'm going to be trying to produce videos every week, new recipes every week. Give me a great big thumbs up if you guys try this recipe and you like it. If you have questions, comments, concerns, ideas for future recipes, anything along those lines, be sure, hit me up on the webpage. Go to Flavortown, welcome to flavortown.com, excuse me. You can leave comments there, leave comments down below, let me know what you're thinking. Other than that, guys, hopefully you guys have a great week. Be sure to keep that pantry stocked, and I'm going to leave you with a little bit of word of advice. or words of inspiration, whatever you want to call it. This actually comes from Julia Child, who's one of my absolute favorite people of all time. And what she said was, everything in moderation, my dears, including moderation. So until next week, have a great life. Talk to you soon. Be healthy. Bye.